Hello darling, so welcome to another episode of Learning with Intimate Wife. I know it has been a minute. I have been seriously MIA, and this time around I don't really have any excuses, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say I am very sorry, and yes, I hope to be forgiven. Yes, do I have to make any promises? Well, I promise from henceforth I will try to keep the videos forthcoming. And as you all know, Intimate Wife is a pregnancy and parenting vlog, so this is where to come for expert advice and information on everything pregnancy, labor, period, newborn care, parenting, and everything in between, lifestyle, fertility, how to deal with miscarriages and all that. So yes, if you have not subscribed, why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and if you have already subscribed to my channel, I want to say a big thank you for the love and support you have been giving me. I really appreciate it. And as you all know, I do these videos with my baby girl Adepa, and she is my hype woman, my main girl, my personal assistant. So if you hear her voice in the video, which you will be hearing soon, yeah, just know that she's, you know, giving me support. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get into today's topic. So I have been thinking about my next topic for my video, and I kept getting danger signs in pregnancy. So today I want us to talk about danger signs in pregnancy. So why don't you get your pens and your notebooks and let's get started. Danger signs in pregnancy are basically any sign you get in pregnancy that is danger. I mean, danger means danger. I don't know how else to explain it for you to get it, but I'm sure everybody understands what danger is. Danger means danger. Danger means red danger, like an action needs to be taken, like, yeah, this is going to pose a threat, a serious threat to the pregnancy. So danger means danger, right? So danger signs in pregnancy are the signs you see that are very dangerous to the pregnancy, to the baby, to the fetus, and that is into even you, the expectant mother. So we're going to take a few of these danger signs. I'll try to cover at least most of them, and then we're going to see, and we're going to talk about when you see these things, what you should do and how you should respond and how soon you should get medical treatment. The first danger sign in pregnancy I would want us to talk about is bleeding. Bleeding is something very serious in pregnancy. I mean, when you're pregnant, you're not supposed to see blood, right? The moment you begin to see blood during pregnancy, it means, hey, something is, you know, actually happening to the pregnancy. It may be a threatened miscarriage or something like that. So I mean, bleeding is like a no in pregnancy. It is not something we want to see at all. You're not supposed to see any sort of bleeding in pregnancy. However, I want to state a difference between bleeding in the first trimester or early pregnancy. There's something called the implantation bleeding, and it's basically it happens a few days after conception, and it's mostly blood that you see. It's like spotting, all right? So it's not like you're actively bleeding. It's just like you see a little spot of blood in your panty, and the color is not bright red. It's usually dark brown or brick red sort of. And this implantation bleeding is the bleeding that occurs, or is the blood that you see after the fetus, after fertilization, though, so to say. That's after the sperm fertilizes the ovum or the egg, and the zygote is formed. Now after the zygote is formed, it implants itself in the uterus, which is your womb, and when that implantation happens, a little blood is shed off, and that is what we see as implantation bleeding. And the difference between the implantation bleeding and bleeding in pregnancy, as I was trying to say early on, is for implantation bleeding, it's not like bright red, it's dark brown, sort of brick red in color, and with the flow, it is not heavy, it is not moderate, it's just a very light bleeding. It's just a very light bleeding. It's something we call spotting. Okay, so it comes and it's not continuous and it doesn't last for long. Some people will see just a day, and some people maybe 24 hours to 48 hours, but it's not bleeding that is heavy or even moderate. It's just light. So probably you spot today and then you see another one probably the next day, it fades away, it doesn't go out, it stops. All right, it's not continuous. So that is implantation bleeding. So when you see this kind of bleeding during and some of us even miss it, okay, because as I said earlier on, it's bleeding that occurs right after conception, so after fertilization takes place and the zygote implants itself in the uterus. So around that time you don't even know you're pregnant, right? So it's you don't even know. You see that thing and you think, oh, it's my menses that was coming, and you think it's your menses that is coming, and then after a few days it stops, and maybe after the first or second day it stops, and you think, oh, the menses, they couldn't come again or something. So at that point you don't even know that you are pregnant for you to even know, oh, this may be implantation bleeding. All right, so if you say implantation bleeding, then that's not the bleeding I am talking about. I'm talking about bright red, bleeding that happens after first trimester, bleeding that happens way after fertilization and implantation has occurred, bleeding that happens in your second trimester, in your third trimester, which is not labor. All right, so any bleeding that you see around during these times that I'm talking about is bleeding. And if it's bright red, it's bleeding, and we do not want to see bleeding in pregnancy. It is very dangerous. It could mean a lot of things, that probably the pregnancy wants to abort, or you may be on your way to miscarry. And yes, so if you see bleeding in pregnancy, you have to rush to the nearest health facility to be checked and seen if the baby is doing well, if the pregnancy it's not harmed in any way. Yes, so I think that's just about it with bleeding. Next danger sign in pregnancy that we'll be talking about is headache. I keep saying this, I've said this in my previous videos, that in pregnancy you shouldn't take anything to chance. Things that may have occurred to you during your non-pregnant period, when it happens to you when you're pregnant, you shouldn't take it lightly at all. And one of these things is headache. Most women just overlook it, like they get headache and they just take paracetamol or something, they don't even report to the hospital. Now headache in pregnancy could mean a lot of things. Headache in pregnancy is often associated with a condition called preeclampsia. That's just a sense of high BP and in pregnancy, and it usually comes with headache. So if you're having persistent headache in pregnancy, probably you took an analgesic, that is paracetamol or any other pain reliever, and the headache does not go, it doesn't alleviate your pain, and you still keep getting the headache, or the headache is consistent, it keeps coming, you would want to go to the hospital to be checked upon, your vitals to be checked for it to be made sure that this is not a sign of preeclampsia or anything like that. Okay, so it's important that when you have headache, you go to the clinic to be seen. So our next danger sign in pregnancy we'll be talking about is swollen feet, arms, and face. Yes, swollen feet, arms, and face. Now during pregnancy, it's very normal to see pregnant women to have puffiness in their face and the legs, the arms, the feet. It's normal, and this is just because of the buildup of fluid in the system, right? But then at the same time, there's this swelling swollen feet, arms and face symptoms that could be associated with preeclampsia, and which is harmful and dangerous for the pregnancy. So if you're pregnant and your face is like it's swollen, but probably it's too swollen, or your hands, your hands are swollen, and your feet are swollen, and it looks overboard, like it's quite more than what the usual or normal pregnant woman looks like, then you want to be checked upon. You would want to go to the clinic to be checked upon. And this swelling sometimes is accompanied by pitting, and by pitting I mean when you press, let's say your hands, all right? So let's say when you press the swollen part on your hand, you feel it forms a dome, like it goes in, and it takes a while for it to come out. So it's like you press and it forms a dough. Just imagine probably a dough, okay, a dough of flour, and then you just dip your finger into it. The way it goes in, and then after some time it comes back. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So when you have edema of the face, of the arms, of the hands, of the feet, and this edema sometimes even pits, you would want to visit the clinic. It could be a dangerous sign of pregnancy. As I said earlier on, it could be associated with preeclampsia, which is high BP in pregnancy. So yes, headache, swollen arms and feet is another danger sign in pregnancy you should look out for. Another danger sign of pregnancy is convulsive fits. And if you're paying attention in my previous videos, I keep talking about preeclampsia or eclampsia. Now, preeclampsia, as I said earlier on, is it's a condition characterized by high BP, protein in urine, swollen arms and feet, headache, dizziness, stuff like that. So if the preeclampsia, it's not managed, the BP is not managed, it escalates to a condition we call eclampsia, and that is just all the signs of preeclampsia accompanied by convulsive fits. That is, a person begins to have seizures, the person begins to have seizures, whether tonic-clonic seizures or mild seizures. The person begins to have convulsive fits. That is to say it in a layman's language. So if you are pregnant, or anybody who is pregnant, the person begins to have fits, it is very, very dangerous. Eclampsia in pregnancy is one leading cause of maternal mortality. So it's not something we joke around with at all. So if you are having these convulsive fits or seizures, you definitely want to rush to the nearby clinic or hospital to be seen. All right, so convulsive fits, it's one danger sign of pregnancy you should really look out for. It's highly dangerous. This danger sign of pregnancy is when the bag of water breaks before the expected date of delivery. That's when your membranes rupture before your expected date of delivery. So I guess we all know when people are pregnant and labor is about to set, you're like, oh, my waters have broken. All right, so that is just the membranes. Okay, the membranes contain the amniotic fluid, which is the water, and the water is what surrounds the babies. It's what the baby swims in, right? So when labor is about to set in, one sign of the onset of labor is the water breaking, as in the membranes rupturing. All right, and so if you are nowhere near your expected date of delivery and the water breaks, it's a bad thing. Why is it a bad thing? Because if you're not near your expected date of delivery, baby is not fully developed, baby is not matured enough to come out. All right, and then this thing, which is actually protecting the baby, keeping the baby, sustaining the baby, breaks. All right, what makes it dangerous is that it when it breaks, then the water that is surrounding the baby, that cushions the baby, all the importance of the amniotic fluid to the baby is lost, right? So the baby is not one of the importance, it says, as a shock absorbent. So imagine the waters break, now the baby is, there's nothing the baby is swimming in, the baby is exposed. So that's importance of shock absorbance is lost, right? The baby has lost it. And then also because the membranes have ruptured and the baby is exposed to infections, so any infections could just, you know, go up and the baby could get infected. Yes, and it's very dangerous in pregnancy, especially when you are nowhere near your expected date of delivery, especially when it happens like midway in pregnancy, when you're not, like, you know, anywhere close to your expected, like, you know, date of delivery. So when your membranes rupture, you know, in pregnancy before your expected date of delivery, you don't want to sit back at home. You have to, you know, go to the clinic, see your midwife or doctor, and yes, and you know, you'll be sorted out. All right, let me just say it like that, you'll be sorted out. So yes, rupture of membranes before you know, expected date of delivery, it is dangerous. It's a danger sign in pregnancy. Next danger sign of pregnancy is dizziness, difficult breathing, and rapid heart beating. Dizziness, difficulty in breathing, and rapid heart beating. Dizziness could be associated, it could be related to anemia, you know, that's the low hemoglobin level of the mother. You know, when you are anemic, you often get dizziness, you are easily fatigued, you're easily tired, and it's not good in pregnancy. Okay, as a pregnant woman, your HB should be, you know, above 11 grams per deciliter. That's the normal, all right? And so if you're anemic, the one sign, as I said, is dizziness. And so if you begin to feel dizzy, you're easily fatigued, you have difficulty in breathing, and you have rapid heart beating, it's not normal. Please, it's not normal. Please come to the hospital. Come so we check on you. Come so we check that you're fine, that your blood level is up. And the same dizziness could be associated with the preeclampsia I keep mentioning all the time. So, you know, you never know. The whole point is, you are not a doctor, you are not a midwife. You never know what it is. Even if you are a doctor or a midwife, you don't even know what is causing these signs that you are getting. So you want to go to the hospital to be checked upon, all right? Because in pregnancy, all you want is, at the end of the day, to deliver peacefully, to have a healthy baby, and for you to also be alive and healthy as well, to take care of your baby. So I mean, it should be so important to you to, you know, seek medical attention as soon as you can if you see any of these danger signs in pregnancy. Next danger sign of pregnancy is increase in body temperature. Increasing body temperature. So you feel you're hot, you know, you're having pyrexia, that is just high temperature. You're hot. It could be as a result of anything. One main thing it could be as a result of is infection. And so yes, you have to, you know, come to the hospital to be checked. When your vital signs are checked, the temperature is checked and it's high, lab investigations will be done to ascertain whether you've had any infection, and then you are put on antibiotics and you get treated, and it's simple as that, right? But when you stay back home and you keep having a high temperature, probably is as a result of infection, and you don't know. Now this infection could, you know, get the baby also infected, and infection causes so many things in pregnancy. It even causes the rupture of membranes. Yes, that's your membranes rupturing before your due date. So I mean, in pregnancy, everything is related to something, and it has a ripple effect. If it, you know, it goes and affects this, affects that, and affects that, and leads to this and that and that. Yes, so the slightest thing shouldn't even be overlooked. You should really you know, go to the hospital to be checked on. And yes, and get treatment. It's just as simple as that. It's very painful when women, the little things, stay back at home and just neglect it, and like take it for granted, and these minor small things just turn out, escalate into something huge, and then they are rushed to the emergency. It's so disheartening, like it's so painful when I see those kind of things, and I don't want any of my lovely followers to be in any of these. I wouldn't even wish for an enemy to find themselves in this kind of situation. So please, if you're having increase in body temperature, you should really check it. You should really go to the hospital or clinic to be checked up. Major sign in pregnancy is increase or decrease or no movement of the baby. Increase or decrease or no movement of the baby. So when you're 16 weeks in pregnancy, the baby is expected to start moving, and the first movement we call it quickening. So quickening occurs when normally at 16 weeks in pregnancy. Some people's own delays, but by 20 weeks quickening should have occurred. That is when you actually you start feeling the baby move in you. And when you're pregnant, it's important that you pay close attention to how your baby moves. All right, this will help you to detect any dangers very fast. If you are somebody who pays attention to your baby, how your baby moves, your baby's movement, probably you study and you realize that, oh, my baby at this particular time of the day is very active, like kind of like kicks you here and there in your abdomen and all that. And then there's this particular day you realize you're not getting that, you're not feeling that, and then probably the next day you realize it still continues, like you're not feeling the usual excitement. Maybe probably when you take a particular food, the baby is excited, the baby kicks, the baby does that, and then one time you realize that you take the food and you don't feel that excitement that the baby gets, and then you don't feel the baby moves like that. You should be alarmed and you should come to the hospital to check upon. Probably your baby is in a state of distress, you may never know. I think it's the most important sign that you would use to know the status of your fetus is the movement. It's one like good key, like cue the baby gives you. And so as a pregnant woman, you should be in tune with your body in such that you're able to know the normal movements of your baby. So in case you begin to feel there's an increase, your baby begins to kick more than usual, or your baby begins to the movements begin to decrease more than usual, or you feel no movement at all, you should be alarmed and you should rush to the nearest clinic or hospital as soon as you can to be checked upon to see if baby is doing well. Okay, because as you're home, you don't have any equipment, you don't have the stethoscope, you don't have the sonicate to check yourself if your baby's heartbeat is there. Okay, so one sign that you use to check is this fetal movement I'm talking about. So when you begin to see any changes in it, please don't neglect it. Okay, I've had an experience where a young couple, a very lovely couple, with their first pregnancy, they used to attend antenatal at a private hospital I used to work at. And there was this one time, I think it was a Sunday, I remember very well. It was a Sunday, and I was on afternoon duty. Yeah, so I was helping with a doctor, so I was in a consulting room with a doctor, and this couple came in, and then the lady complained that the night before, the baby, she felt the baby kicking. It was too vigorous, like the baby was kicking her so vigorously, and she told her husband, and they decided to sleep and come to the hospital the next day, since it was, like she said, around midnight. And so they slept and ignored it, and they slept. And the next day, they didn't even come to the hospital like early in the morning. They actually went to church, and then after they had closed from church, that was when they came in to the hospital. I will never forget this. So the doctor asked me to, you know, like position her on the bed. So he does a quick scan to listen to the baby's heart, and then the doctor, you know, put the probe on this woman, and there was no heartbeat. There was no heartbeat. Like, I was looking on the monitor, and the doctor was looking on the monitor, and the doctor turned and looked at me, and I looked at the doctor. It was so sad. Like, there was no heartbeat, and then the doctor kept, you know, going around, like checking, like going around and checking, and the woman was like, "Doctor, please, like, is there anything wrong?" And the doctor didn't know what to say, and it was the most awkward, painful thing like I'd ever experienced. And after I cleaned her up, and, you know, she sat back down with her husband, and I watched the doctor break the news to her, and it was so difficult for him to break the news to her. And when he finally did it, he was like, "I'm so sorry, like, why didn't you guys come in the night when you felt the thing was so, you know, the movement was so much? Why didn't you come?" And they said, "Oh, it was late in the night, and they thought this and they thought that, so they decided to come in the morning, and in the morning so they decided, oh, let's go to church and come back." And the doctor was like, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry to tell you that the fetus, your baby is dead." Oh my God. And when he broke the news like that, the lady, I remember the lady was just motionless. She was motionless, like no reaction, no feedback. She wasn't blinking. She was just like dead. She was calm. And then her husband was the one who, like, you know, reacted in the instant. The doctor, he was like, "Doctor, please, what did you say?" And then the doctor was like, "I'm sorry, there's no fetal heart, there's no fetal heart, I'm so sorry." And the doctor was, and the man, the husband was, you know, like he was reacting. He started expressing his grief, and the lady was still numb. So the doctor asked me to take them inside to the ward, and then, you know, admit the lady. And yes, so they were just going to start an induction, and then, you know, for the baby to, you know, the fetus to, you know, expel, like be delivered. And as I stepped out with the lady, like as I took her out, I was like, oh, I remember she was called Jennifer. And I was like, "Jennifer," and then I helped her. She got up, still not responding to anything. She was just numb. She went cold. She was just numb. And then as I stepped out of the consulting room with her, she broke down. Like, she broke down, and she wailed, like she cried, and it was so painful. It was so painful. Like, I didn't know what stopped me from crying. Like, it was so sad. It was so sad. And I could just imagine all the things that we're going through, you know, their minds, like, we should have come to the hospital. Like, it was sad. Okay, it was sad. And I remember after the induction, when she was in labor, you know, when labor had set in and she was being delivered of that baby, can you imagine the pain? You are having normal, regular labor pains just to deliver a dead baby. And my colleague midwife who was doing that delivery that day was crying. And the one assisting her was crying. Everybody was crying in the labor room that day, like from midwife to the client to the husband. Everybody was crying. I was the only one who didn't cry. I'm telling you, whether you believe that or not, I just couldn't cry. It's not like I didn't feel it. I was sad. I just couldn't cry. But everybody was crying. And when the baby's head was delivered, there was cord around the baby's neck multiple times, more than 5 times. The cord, the umbilical cord, had wrapped, itself around the baby's neck several times. So you can imagine the whole time the baby was, you know, struggling. It means the cord was tightening the neck. I'm sorry I'm giving you the vivid. I just want you to understand the magnitude of little signs in pregnancy. And because you don't have eyes to see what is going in there, the cord had wrapped itself several times around the baby's neck. So I was just imagining how the baby was struggling to breathe, like struggling. It had even created marks on the baby's neck after we were examining the baby after he was born. And it was a gorgeous, beautiful baby boy, very tall. I mean, both parents were tall. The guy was really tall, and the lady was also tall, dark, beautiful, tall. You could tell it was a tall baby. And it was just too sad. Like, nobody could, you know, keep it together. Nobody could hold him or herself in the labor room that day. It was just a very sad experience. And just looking back at it right now, like sharing the story, it's just dawned on me how serious things could, you know, turn out in pregnancy. And that was their first pregnancy. And you can imagine, I mean, later after that, the lady had to go through you know, psychiatric, you know, she had to see the psychiatrist, you know, so you can imagine the toll this incident really had on that beautiful, you know, couple. So, I mean, you shouldn't joke with these signs, these danger signs. You shouldn't joke with anything, you know, that seems abnormal in pregnancy. You should not say, oh, I'm waiting. Some people give excuses, oh, there was nobody at home, so I had to wait for my husband. Working in the medical field has just made me appreciate. It's just made me appreciate life, and it's shown me that there's just a very thin line between life and death, like thin line. Just 1 second you're here, and the next second you're just gone. And I don't want to begin to sound emotional, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Yes, so increase or decrease or no movement of baby should really alarm you, alright? And you should rush to the hospital. Our next danger sign of pregnancy is smelly or greenish water from the birth canal. Smelly and or greenish discharge or water from the birth canal. And this is all related to infection. And I said infection is, you know, could lead to preterm labor, could lead to your membranes rupturing before time, which is just leading to preterm labor. Okay, so yes, if you're having greenish, smelly, foul discharges, or you know, from your you know, from your lady parts, you should come to the clinic or the hospital to be checked upon. It's a danger sign in pregnancy. Danger sign in pregnancy is persistent vomiting. Persistent vomiting. There's a condition in pregnancy called hyperemesis gravidarum, and that's just excessive vomiting in pregnancy. I had that when I was pregnant. I will talk about it another time. I think I've shared too many sad stories for today, so I'm going to talk about it another time. But it was a painful experience. Like you're vomiting, you know, we have the normal nausea and vomiting in pregnancy, and this is just like the senior, you know, this is like the worst of it. Okay, nothing will go in, as in no food, no water, nothing will go in or even stay. I wasn't eating, water wouldn't go, nothing will go. I tried everything, like, you know, everything that people recommend when you're having vomiting in pregnancy, and nothing worked. And I didn't go to work for the first 3 months of my pregnancy, since from the day I realized I was pregnant until after my first trimester. I didn't go to work. I was on admission the whole time. So persistent vomiting, because no food was going in and I was vomiting everything. I was non-stop vomiting. I had to be on IV fluids the whole time to replenish the fluids that that is being lost during the vomiting. Yeah, so persistent vomiting is a big danger sign in pregnancy. You see, I think until you have gone through it, trust me, until I had experienced it myself, I didn't know how serious it was. So I guess when people tell you, when people are telling you these things in pregnancy, sometimes you're tempted to overlook it. You're tempted to like just underestimate it until someone close to you gets it or you experience it for yourself. But I don't want you to experience these things for yourself, because some of these experiences will turn out like badly, probably you losing your life or you losing your baby. Alright, so you don't want to joke with this thing. You should definitely come to the hospital when you're having persistent vomiting. The danger sign of pregnancy I'm going to talk about with you is severe abdominal pains. During pregnancy, especially during the first trimester, it's normal to have a little few abdominal pains here and there. It's normal. But when you're beginning to have severe abdominal pains, it's not normal. It could be a pending miscarriage, that's trying to happen, or an early labor. Okay, so when you're having severe abdominal pains in pregnancy, you will definitely want to visit the nearest clinic. So yes, that's just about danger signs in pregnancy. If you are privy to other danger signs in pregnancy, you can share it in the comment section below. And yes, I think I'm just gonna wrap up by saying that your partner or family members should bring you to a midwife or doctor immediately if any of these signs appear, and please do not come alone. Okay, however, in case there's nobody at home when you're having these things, don't say because we said do not come alone, so you are waiting for the person to come home before you come. Please do come to the hospital. You can call them for them to meet you in the hospital. Okay, so you just still come, but call and inform your family, your relatives, so they can meet you up in at the hospital. So yes, we're gonna wrap up here, and if you want me to, if there are any topics you want me to cover, you can still write them in the comment section below. I'm gonna be checking up on them, and yes, try and do videos on them. And as I said earlier, if you have any questions, you put them in the comment section below, and I will do well to answer all your questions. Yes, so until next time, bye bye, and thanks for staying.